My name is Rachel Kohler, and I am the Immigration Services Lawyer at the International Institute of Minnesota. I have worked on immigration issues related to human trafficking and labor exploitation since 2016, and I continue to work on these issues with the International Institute of Minnesota's anti-trafficking team. In this video, I am going to explain what human trafficking is. I'm also going to talk about a specific kind of immigration benefit called a T visa. A T visa may be available to you if you have been trafficked. I'm going to review how to apply for a T visa, what the benefits are, and what the process is from beginning to end. I will end this video by sharing what resources exist in the city of Minneapolis to help you and others who have experienced human trafficking. Human trafficking is a form of modern-day slavery. Human trafficking can happen to anyone, regardless of your gender, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, age, or socioeconomic status. Immigrants are particularly vulnerable to human trafficking. Why? There are a few reasons. A lack of connections in the United States, an unfamiliarity with U.S. laws and rights, language barriers, and fears of deportation, and potential separation from family and loved ones. Most people who have been trafficked do not identify as victim survivors of human trafficking. Human trafficking is under-identified and under-reported. Some studies propose that there are more than 1 million victim survivors of human trafficking in the United States alone. So, before we go any further, let's talk about what human trafficking is. Human trafficking includes both labor trafficking and sex trafficking. To qualify as trafficking, traffickers must bring or recruit you into the trafficking situation. Traffickers often do this by making false promises of jobs, school, acceptance or love, or even immigration status. Traffickers can continue to control you by threatening to harm you or your family, by taking your documentation, such as your passport, identification, or money, or by threatening to call the police or ICE to have you deported. Sex trafficking involves sex in exchange for anything of value, such as money, safe passage, housing, or protection. Examples of sex trafficking include forcing people to participate in pornography or forcing someone into prostitution. It can take place in many locations, including hotels, workplaces, homes, or massage parlors. Labor trafficking is less discussed. It's also more difficult to identify. Labor trafficking involves more than just working in bad or unsafe conditions or working somewhere where you don't always get paid. For labor trafficking, you must also be forced to work and be unable to easily or safely leave your work. Traffickers may keep you from leaving by saying you owe them money, even if the debt is not real, and that you can work to pay them back. The trafficker may also threaten you or your family in the US or abroad, or they may threaten to evict you or have you deported if you stop working. Some examples of the type of work where labor trafficking can occur include working in someone's home as their nanny or maid, selling products on the street, working on a farm or in a processing plant, or working in construction, restaurants, nail salons, hotels, in hair braiding, or other businesses. It is important to recognize that trafficking does not require that the trafficker bring you or smuggle you into the US. In fact, you may have been in the United States for some time before the trafficking happened. You also do not need to be undocumented or without immigration status to be trafficked. You can be trafficked even if you entered the US on a valid visa, such as a work or student visa. If you entered with a valid work visa, you may even be trafficked by the employer who petitioned for you. This can happen when the work you're doing in the US is not what was promised in your visa application, and you can continue to do this work because the employer is forcing you or threatening you somehow. Your employer does not need to run a licensed business to traffic you, but can force you to work on the street, door to door, or out of their home. It does not require a contract, pay stub, or any official documentation. As you can probably tell, human trafficking is complicated. The best way to confirm if you have been trafficked is to be screened by an immigration lawyer who is familiar with trafficking. Immigration lawyers are a confidential resource and are safe to talk to about your immigration status. They are not connected to police, ICE, or the Department of Homeland Security. Another reason it is important to talk to an immigration lawyer is because there are other types of immigration benefits that you might be eligible for. This could include a U visa or asylum. It is important to understand all the possible immigration options you have. I will provide you with some referrals for free and low-cost services at the end of this video. I'm going to spend the rest of today's video talking a little more about T visas. To start, what is a T visa? A T visa is an immigration benefit available to immigrants who have been trafficked in the United States. If approved, it would allow you to live and work in the United States for 4 years, with the option to apply for more permanent status later. To get a T visa, you must prove that you meet the requirements provided in immigration law. The first requirement is that you prove you are a victim of human trafficking. The second requirement to apply for a T visa is that the trafficking must have happened in the United States, and that you continue to be here because of the trafficking. It is possible for trafficking to start outside of the U.S. and continue in the U.S. It is also possible that you were brought to the U.S. to be trafficked, but you were able to escape or leave the trafficking situation before it happened. As long as at least some of the trafficking or attempted trafficking happened on U.S. soil or a U.S. territory, you may be eligible to apply for a T visa. The third requirement for the T visa is that you report the trafficking to law enforcement and cooperate with reasonable requests from investigators. This does not mean that you have to report to police only, though in some cases you may choose to report to police. There are many other federal or Minnesota investigators you can report to, including the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Labor, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the Minnesota Attorney General's Office, or your county's Child Protection Office. In Minneapolis specifically, you can also report to the Minneapolis Department of Civil Rights. If your case has not already been reported to law enforcement, it is a good idea to talk with an advocate or a lawyer about where to report. This is especially true if your trafficker has threatened you or your family to stop you from reporting to law enforcement. A lawyer or advocate can work with you and with investigators to try and keep you and your family safe. Additionally, the requirement to report does not mean that your trafficker needs to be arrested, charged with a crime, or brought to court. In most cases, this is unlikely to happen. The requirement to cooperate in the investigation only focuses on things you can control, that you report it to law enforcement, and that you agree to help. Now that you know what is required for a T visa, I would like to talk about what evidence you can file with your application. What evidence do you need for the T visa? When you apply for a T visa, there are several forms you will need to fill out. Along with filling out the forms, you will also send an affidavit. The affidavit is the story about what happened to you. This includes how you were trafficked and why immigration should approve your T visa application. The affidavit is the most important piece of evidence for your T visa application. Your immigration lawyer will likely write your affidavit for you with your help to make sure all the important information is included. If you are not working with a lawyer yet, it is important to write down names, dates, and other details about your situation so that you can give that to your lawyer later. If you have other evidence of your trafficking, you should include that with your T visa application as well. Other evidence can include pay stubs, hospital records, police or law enforcement reports, photos, text messages with the traffickers, or letters from coworkers or witnesses to the trafficking. Depending on your situation, there may not be a lot of other evidence, which is another reason why the affidavit is so important. Can I include family members on my T visa application? Yes, you can include family members living in the United States with you or family living abroad. If you are under 21 years old, you can apply for your parents, unmarried siblings under 18 years old, your spouse, and unmarried children under 21 years old. If you are 21 years or older, you can apply for your spouse and unmarried children who are under 21 years old. If your family member is outside of the United States, you should file a petition for them, but they will not be able to get a visa to come to the United States until after your T visa application is approved. What is the process for applying for a T visa? The first thing you need to do if you think you have been trafficked is speak with an immigration lawyer to see if applying for a T visa is a good idea for you. If you have not already reported the trafficking to law enforcement, The lawyer can help you with reporting in the safest way possible. Then the lawyer will work with you on filling out the T visa forms, writing your affidavit, and collecting any evidence you might have. Preparing a T visa application can often take several months. As of December 2024, it is taking 1.5 years to get a decision after filing the application. This timeline can be quicker or slower depending on how fast immigration is issuing decisions and how many applications are pending. Starting in October 2024, immigration started issuing work permits to applicants and family members with pending T visa applications. This is possible only after immigration determines that the application is complete and that the applicant does not have any serious criminal history. If your T visa application is approved, it will grant you 4 years of status and work authorization in the United States. You can apply for a green card after having a T visa for 3 years, or possibly sooner, depending on whether the investigation into your trafficking is open or closed. If your green card application is approved, you can apply for citizenship after 5 years. So while the T visa is only temporary and only valid for 4 years, it is a pathway to staying in the US permanently. How do changes in who is president impact T visas? It is possible that a new president could impact your T visa application or your immigration status more generally. That is why it is very important to talk with an immigration lawyer. A lawyer can help you understand how you might be impacted by any changes in law or policy. It is also very important to learn what immigration benefits you can apply for to make sure you are best protected from deportation. What resources are available for me in Minneapolis if I think I have been trafficked? If you think you have been trafficked and need a place to sleep or need other resources, please call the Day One number, 1-866-223-1111. This number is confidential. It is not connected to police or ICE. Day One also has interpreters available if you do not speak English. For legal assistance, there are several options for free or low-cost lawyers who may be able to provide a T visa screening for Minneapolis residents. These options include the Advocates for Human Rights, the International Institute of Minnesota, Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid, Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota, Standpoint, and the Volunteer Lawyers Network. I would like to remind you again that immigration lawyers are a confidential resource and are safe to talk about your immigration status. For more resources, you can email the Human Trafficking Prevention Advisor for the City of Minneapolis or the Minneapolis Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. Additionally, in the City of Minneapolis, city personnel, including its police officers, cannot ask you about your immigration status when you ask them for help. I hope you have learned today about how to identify trafficking and about the importance of talking to an immigration lawyer if you are concerned about your experience or the experience of someone you know.